back in Delhi here. So एक अच्छा प्लेटफॉर्म है कि मैं सबको ये बता सकूं कि एक्चुअल देखिए बहुत ज्यादा चैलेंजेस इस जगह पे. इट्स नॉट दैट इजी व्हाट वी आर सेइंग, यू नो.
करेक्ट, वेरी ट्रू.
कि ये एक सेंस है, शब्द है, बट इस शब्द को एक्चुअली अगर हम देखने जाएं तो बहुत सारे इश्यूज हम मुझे नजर आते हैं इसमें.
इनफैक्ट क्या इश्यूज तो है ही मैडम, और ये इश्यूज आज से नहीं कई सालों से चले आ रहे हैं और बढ़ते जा रहे हैं. कोई कम कहीं नहीं हुआ है. इट्स ओनली सुपरफिशियली वी सी के खत्म हुआ है, बट एक्चुअल में अगर इन्वेस्टिगेशन किया जाए तो यू विल फाइंड लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स आर स्टिल हैपनिंग. और बच्चों को जिस तरह से बोलते हैं ना, उनको दे आर एक्सप्लॉइटिंग द चिल्ड्रन, वो बहुत लार्ज स्केल पे हो रहा है, अब भी हो रहा है.
हो तो रहा है, बट उसका और एक भी हम अगर देखने जाएं उसे तो यही दिखता है हमें कि अच्छा एक मुझे नहीं पता, मतलब तरुण जी रिलेट थोड़ा बहुत कर पाएंगे क्योंकि वो उस ग्राउंड लेवल पे हैं. बट जब हम इस जगह की बात करते हैं, दादान जो बाहर निकलते हैं, तो the dadans, those who go out because they don't have anything to eat.
करेक्ट.
They don't have a, so you catch hold of them for working and then send them back home. They have nothing to do. They will go back again.
Yeah,
Is that what
basically,
it's?
yeah, the main
So we have
main
to.
uh, the main issue is the poverty is not taken care. तो अगर poverty
Absolutely,
eradicate नहीं होगा तो
absolutely correct.
definitely that is going to happen. बच्चे वापस जाएंगे ही काम करने. How will they run their house? क्योंकि they are
Exactly.
additional help. They are the additional help ना.
Absolutely, you know, अब एक एक घर में पांच पांच दस दस, you know, here I have seen minimum children are 5 because they can work in the field and the world has not changed, you know, much in this
Correct.
development mindset का ही development नहीं हो पाया अभी तक.
और अभी ये इंडिया का नहीं, एवरीवेयर इट इज द सेम प्रॉब्लम. अगर आप देखो ना पूरे
बिल्कुल,
वर्ल्ड में
मैं आपसे पूरी तरह से सहमत हूँ इस बात पे.
बिकॉज एक्सप्लॉयटेशन बच्चों का क्यों हो रहा है? एक तो सबसे पहले दे आर इजी टारगेट, दूसरा दे आर लाइक यू नो देयर इनकम इज ना के बराबर इनकम उनको देते हैं, और दे कैन बी एक्सप्लॉयटेड टू द मैक्सिमम एंड दे विल नॉट बी इवन सेइंग अबाउट इट. तो बहुत सारी चीजें हैं, इश्यूज हैं, जिसको अगर देखा जाए, सी अगर ईच वन टीच वन हो या यू नो एडुकेट द यंग किड्स या ट्राइबल्स को हम कनेक्ट करें, तो बहुत सारी जगह हैं जहाँ लूपहोल है जिसको हम फिल कर सकते हैं. देयर हैज टू बी अ प्लेटफॉर्म क्रिएटेड जो क्रिएट नहीं हो रहा है. देयर इज अ वैक्यूम स्टिल.
Agree.
we all so we all need to come into a you know a
कहीं ना
platform
कहीं
that जी जी
हर एक को थोड़ा बहुत तो करना ही है, मतलब
कंट्रीब्यूट करना ही पड़ेगा.
बात की जाए, या मेरा यही एक होगा कि भैया मैंने इसका एक सही रूप देखा हुआ है, तो इस रूप को हम ऐसे ही अगर यू नो if you rescue them, where are they going to go? Do we have a robust system in place to
I think we
actually?
have got a lot of guests now. We should start introducing ourselves, and let's give
Lovely.
it to Tarunji to start it. हाँ Tarunji, you continue.
Raju bhai, if we can wait around like 5 minutes because some guests are still they are going to come.
Sure.
So we will take
Yes.
5 or 10 minutes, you know. So
Yes,
because
no problem.
a few more are coming. If they are not able to come around like even in 5 minutes, then we are going to start the session.
No problem. They can join us when the conversation is still on, because this will continue till 7:30, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's going to be around 7:30. If things get अगर जल्दी खत्म हो जाएगा तो we are going to wind up करने कोई दिक्कत. बस मेरा मानना ये था कि everyone gets proper time and ample time to speak.
Yes. That's more than enough. Timing is more than enough for us all. So let's wait and wait for the people to join us.
So it is very quite. मैम ने शुरुआत में आते बोला, and it's a very like a blessing for us because आप सच माने मैम सारी चीजों को देखती है. It's 18 hours. It's like a blessing for us. आपको बताऊं, छोटी बेटी कनिका भी है हमारे साथ में. ये अभी 12th क्लास की स्टूडेंट है अभी वृंदावन में. और आपको मैं सच बताऊं, ये सोशल बहुत एक्टिव रहना चाहती है in her life. She's so sensitive and she want to do something very effective work on a ground level. So
Okay.
आप सबकी ब्लेसिंग कनिका को मिलनी चाहिए. और रुचि है मेरे साथ में. शी इज गोइंग टू आज एक शी इज गोइंग टू होस्ट दैट. अभी लॉ कर रही है ये. और शी इज
my law.
You are already completed.
Yeah, I've done the masters in law.
Great.
Rana bhai, very good evening to you. कैसे हैं? All well?
Good evening, all well. Perfect.
So what we do, first we are going to, okay, now everyone is here. Now we complete the, all the team, all the guest speaker here now. And first we are going to start with national anthem. And then we are going to take forward. Okay, we are going to start with national anthem.
Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha, Dravida, Uttara, Banga, Vindhya, Himachala, Yamuna, Ganga, Jana, Jalati, Taranga, Tava Shubha Name Jage, Tava Shubha Ashish Mange, Gahe Tava Jaya Gana, Jana Gana Mandala Dayaka Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata, Jaya He, Jaya He, Jaya He, Jaya 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 He.
Thank you. Ruchi?
Yes, sir.
Can
Let's
you
begin with the
now?
introduction. Yeah. Let's begin with the introduction, and Karnika will introduce.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. I, Karnika Chaturvedi, team member of Solo Praj Federation, welcome you all in this webinar on eradicating child labor. We are pleased to have you all here and are really looking forward to have an in-depth, meaningful discussion on the topic. So we have 8 distinguished dignitaries over here who are going to enlighten us with the information on the topic. Each one of them are renowned, well celebrated, and are working hard for the welfare of the society. So let me introduce you with each one of them. Dr. Lopamudra Priyadarshini Ma'am, General Manager, Sustainability and Corporate Relation in Delco Industries Limited. She is winner of the Dr. QH Khan Excellency Award 2018, Global Women Inspiration Award 2021, India CSR Professional of the Year Award, the Global CSR Champion Award, and many more. Then Umang Pathak Ma'am, National President of Legal Awareness Council and Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Then Parag Patil Sir, Senior Olympian, Motivational Speaker, International Coach, and winner of 70 medals for India in athletics. Kajal Chatija Ma'am, Executive Director of Gayatri Group of Schools, Founder, Edudrone, WeConnect. Dr. Rana, Vice Chancellor and CEO at Sanskriti University, Mathura. Sanjeev Kapoor Sir, he is a professional technical. Just a second. So, Sanjeev Kapoor Sir served for more than 30 years in corporate world and now serving in many associations and big organizations. Rajiv Saxena Sir, he is founder of QME. He is consultant and advisor in tourism and education department. Last but not the least, Vikas Sharma Sir, CEO and full-time director at Talwandi Sabo Power Limited. Hare Krishna, everybody.
I think we need to begin with the questions. My first question is from Umang Ma'am. Hello, Ma'am. This is Ruchi, and we'll be taking this conversation from very basic and then like different level of questions we'll be asking. So let's begin with the very generic question: what is child labor? What constitutes a child labor, and what is the difference between child work and child labor? And the age threshold and everything, like little bit of basic things.
Sure, sure. I think that is actually the first step to start from. But before we deep dive into the subject, I really want to express my gratitude for receiving this invitation. Rajiv ji and I have been working together for quite some time on women related issues, and which is very close to both our hearts. And everybody else is here, I'm very glad. And starting from Karnika herself, if you're keen on being involved in social issues, that's exactly what we need. We should take out our time, effort, energy to try and bring, make our small little contributions to bring change. That's how we are going to, go ahead. And so I'm glad that we are here on the day of World Day Against Child Labor. This issue is just not Indian problem; it's a global problem. And today, in the wake of the pandemic, this problem is only becoming worse. The poverty is increasing, and the first people to get affected. I mean, it it really cringes my heart. You must have all read the news how parents have passed away because of COVID, and children have no support, or are dependent on the relatives or government. So all the more need is there for us to work with all the stakeholders, government, institutions, corporates, everyone to come together, hold the hand and work towards making, supporting our children and bringing them to be responsible citizens. So okay, so let's start from the most basic, which is what is a child, and who determines that definition, and in what context it is considered, and then what it tries to do, and why definition of anything is important. If we don't define any term, whether it's child, gender, women, whatever, in the right context, then we might just exclude or deprive certain people from the whole planning, the legislative protection or policy schemes for welfare, if we do not make that definition as it should be done. Most basic understanding that people have is that a minor, every person, every child below 18 years should be a child, and this is something collective. I mean, it's not about your child or my child. Any child of that age, if we see them in difficult circumstances or working in a dhaba or on a roadside or anything, we all feel the same emotion. So which is why the legislation also tries to do, I'll start from the Constitution of India, because that is the first document. It is the mother of all a legal document, we can say, which lays down the whole blueprint, which lays down the base, and then other legislations and delegated legislations and even policy framework take its genesis from Constitution of India. So Constitution of India starts, a specific reference of children has been made, and over years, the references, whether in terms of fundamental rights or directive principles of state policy, the context is simple. The basic rights that we have guaranteed to every citizen, and a lot of right are to any person. So does not necessarily mean Indian citizen only. A visitor or a foreigner or any person who's in India, first and foremost has a right to life, which is Article 21, the fundamental right. And that over years have been, the definition of each, or the scope of each fundamental right has been widened by our judiciary over years. So that is another way how the ambit of legislations or policy frameworks can be extended, where enterprising or social change oriented judges try and bring the benefit to as many people as possible. So without going into details of Constitution as of now, just to give you an idea of what is a definition of child, that actually is different in context of different things. If we talk about employment laws, for example, it's different. If we talk about criminal law protection, it's different. Marital laws, it's different. So for different legislation, that context is different. But I think we can goes simply by the United Nations Convention on Rights of Children, which defines it as we understand any person who's below 18 years should be considered as a child. They give that scope for nations to make their alterations, because we know as countries we are at different level of development. So the India also being a developing nation, in various legislations have defined differently, and I'll just give you references of few and the context in which they do it. For example, the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act, it says a child is one who's below, has not completed 14 years. About free education and compulsory education obligation of the state, that is again 14 years. Marital laws, if you talk about, then it's 18 years for girls, 21 years for boys. If you talk about immoral trafficking law, then it says 16 year. Juvenile Justice Act, which regulates children in difficult circumstances or in conflict with law, who have ended up committing an offense, but because in criminal law we do not consider children to be committing offense because they don't understand the consequences of their actions completely. So which is where we do different definitions. So criminal law, for example, IPC, various provision which provides penalties for punishments for any kind of offense. As per that, a child committing an offense below 7 years will not be considered an offense. From 7 to 12, again, the consequences of action, and depending on the facts and circumstances, that context changes. So the basically, without getting too technical, I just want to say, depending on what context we are dealing with, we define a child differently. If we talk about child labor specifically, all employment laws usually range between 14 to 15 years, that children below that age, it does not completely prohibits child labor. It prohibits child labor for harmful or hazardous industries. Otherwise, they can still work. And that is where, we should focus on going beyond. I mean, children, if they are working, it is a vicious cycle. They cannot study, they can't bring themselves or their families out of poverty. So it just goes on like a cycle. So yeah, I mean, this conversation in various our policy discussions and globally have been happening, that a child across the globe, not just in India, should be defined to be below 18 years. So I think
Thank you so much, Tanvi. It was such a great insight. I have another question related to constitutional framework. Like, I think we have a very sound legal system with us. We have a very great laws, constitutional wise. We have great fundamental rights and remedies and everything, and we have proper separate legislation for that. So where are we failing exactly? And we are seeing rampant growth of these cases like child labor. It's everywhere now, and because of post-COVID issues, there will be more on a more there'll be more cases of that. So having such a strong system with us, constitutional rights and everything, separate rights under 24, Article 24, we have state directive, state policies. So where are we lacking? Where, as a citizen, as the states where they have DPSPs for themselves, where are we failing? Where are where we are not able to curb it all, because we have a proper structure with us. Where are we failing exactly in that matter?
Okay, so before again going into that, let me just explain, even Constitution of India makes that distinction. So what is the difference between fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy? Fundamental rights are enforceable. You can go to court and demand for that execution, for that implementation, whether it's law or let's say right to life, and a child of say 14 years or 13 years or 15 years who is still not getting the benefit of fundamental right to education can go to court and ask for that enforcement, and in a simple writ petition which can directly be filed with the High Court or the Supreme Court, so you don't have to go through the hierarchies of court. So one part, and the other part is the directive principle of state policy. And if you read the Constitution, it actually describes it, because we are a nation. Imagine 1950 when it came into force. We are a nation which has a long way to go, and we do not have enough resources, enough financial capacity for even government. Our economies are not that developed. We have one of the highest populations in the world and the youngest population in the world, but we don't have the means, with all well intention, of ensuring. So one visible example is right to education came as an 86th amendment into fundamental rights. For the longest time it was only a directive principle, which means that the government's state is directed to make its policy or special laws for these themes, which included education and everything, but you could not go to court for its enforcement. So again, as you rightly said, it is, we have the frameworks, we have the legislations, but what if it is not implemented? Can a child go to court for its enforcement of right, which he still has as a fundamental right? Do we have
And
that
then,
legal
and the
age?
basic right, right, and ma'am, the basic right of life is actually, we have seen many times, it's not actually making it a sense, because when a child is working, he's not having his full psychological development, social development, and lot like any
Exactly. So
development.
in that
Exactly. So
regard,
he's
we
not.
don't have to make special laws. Right to life,
Yes,
we
yes,
understand
yes.
what it should
Yes,
have. For
exactly.
a child, it should
Exactly.
be proper care, health, education, food, rest, everything, which we know for a fact is not getting implemented. The other, if I have to, and these are my personal comments, I mean, there's so much written about it and discussed about it. What is the problem in implementation? And fundamental rights again are against the state. I can't take a private person to court. So who are these people who employ child labor? Who are these people who think small children in hand are better for making bidi or matches or this?
Right.
You can't make laws to change that mindset. This is a very individual problem. It is, this does not, I mean, how much money does it get saved? How much money or how much remuneration is paid to children? We are the problems in with all our laws, regulations, and everything is this: we individually, each one of us, do not consider it as our responsibility, not just towards our own children, but as children in general. They, as it is
Ma'am, I
said in,
have another question. What is the role of judiciary in it? Like, have you said that we have every sort of framework? So, is there been any case law which has been like a landmark judgment
there have
we
been
can all
many,
look up to?
Mehta and this that, some conscious and aware citizen has filed a PIL. Some, there are a lot of times judges have so moto taken cases, but that we can't have these ad hoc approach to it. It has to be collective approach. We can statistically find out how many of these kids we have in the nation, for example. How many, let's say, in the wake of COVID have become abandoned or orphans. What is the system we have that implements it? I mean, we know even with our adoption laws, it is so difficult for people to adopt kids. I wanted to adopt one myself, but there are, various restrictions there. As a single parent, you can't do this, you can't do that. So we don't have a holistic approach. We make one law to address one issue, which may have repercussions laterally on other situations or things. This is where I think the problem in implementation is bigger, because I don't think money or resources is our problem. Our problem is that till now our policies, our laws, they are addressing issues in isolation. They are not, for employment we have at least 20 laws. Factories Act says something, Plantation Act says something, Mining Act says something. Generally the International Labour Organization has said that age threshold for a child should be where he should be able to work. Until then he should study. If we treat 14 years as an education obligation for state, what does a 14-year-old get in terms of education? Ninth standard. Does it equip him for anything else? Does it train him for anything else? No. So we have to connect this whole thing. For example, there is a school where you give free education, you're providing midday meals, and there is, let's say, some corporate factory or some kind of unit there you connect it through CSR. They should get
Right.
probably apprenticeship or internship there. So we have to, unless we do not start looking at a problem or a concern in its complete holistic, all aspects that around it, we can't just pass judgments. Okay, one person can take it to the court, but it would not automatically either result in change of law or change in mindset or become a precedent for all such cases in future. And the first problem is with the judiciary is the lag. The system is already so overloaded,
Right.
that these kind of cases, by the time they reach to a conclusion, we have already lost. So I personally feel there is more scope for policy schemes, the proper implementation of those things instead of knocking on the doors of courts.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for the insight. It was a mind-boggling discussion. I have a second question for Lobamudra, ma'am. Yes. Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, Ruchi, loud and clear.
Ma'am, I have a question related to corporates. And see, of course, we have a giant system of MNCs now, corporates now, and a lot of people are coming from rural areas to urban cities for jobs and employments. How do you see that these corporates are liable for rampant growth of child labor? And I want to ask another question that, okay, back of this, there are a lot of unorganized sectors that helps these corporates on a bigger level. So how do you see that the link between mass recruitment of unorganized sector? How do you see that? How
Very
can
good
see-
evening and Hare Krishna to everyone. Ruchi, the question was very valid. At what level corporates have aggravated this issue? I would say, listen, in organized sector, these kind of is it true? So to understand this better, we need to first understand why children are forced into this child labor.
Right.
The most important reason is that they are caught in the crossfire of poverty, and become a source of income for their families. Poverty, lack of access to education, as Umangji has rightly said, and limited awareness about child safety are among the root causes of child labor. See, back in when I was in Delhi and I worked with these very renowned and Nobel Peace Prize winner Kailash Satyarthi's association called Bachpan Bachao Andolan. It was a volunteering role I wanted to do because this is children and women are very close to my heart. So what we used to do is we used to go and raid with whatever the group is. Okay, we raided, we found, but where do you find this child labor is the first question. Where do you find them more? Is it in the 5-star hotel or in the dhabas? Somebody was saying in Tirupur, Umang said ki the child at the age where they're able to work, that can be age of 16, 17, 18, because I see. So I'll take you back to those raids we have done in Delhi, and we took those children out from the slums and from the various small businesses which is running around in Delhi, and a lot of child labor there, rescuing them, sending them to to the shelter homes. My mind was always asking, after then what? So I got to go there. I used to sit, we used to find their parents, we used to send them back to Chhattisgarh, to Jharkhand, to Odisha, to all the tribal belts they come from, or from those rural belts they come from. Today, for the last 3 years, I am in the same belt and trying to, understand. And I would say each family do have 5 to 6, minimum children are 6, maximum can go up to 12. The reason this happens, there are rampant, hardly any knowledge that what is child labor, because now at this time when they are cutting the crops, you would see everywhere there is children. Back here in Odisha, where I am placed right now, everywhere there is children. Now, see, the schools are at this COVID situation, it's very, very tough for them as well, because hardly they what they were going to school, they are not going. So my point is, child labor is a menace because of poverty, because of lack of to education. See, at this point of time, there is hardly any education. No schools are running, and we don't have network. How can you ask them to read, do the education through online education? It's a joke. It's a mere joke. How much a corporate will die? So I'll come back to your question of corporates. You know, it is not much in organized sector, because the law is very stringent for organized. It's only maximum you see it in unorganized sector. Further, it's very important to identify the business and industry that encourage and employs children workforce and why they do it. So in Kashmir, you would say that, you know, they employ these children because they have a small hand, and, you know, carpet weaving is better than that. I do. Totally, it saddens me sometimes. Garment industries are where you can see more. Carpet industry, bricklaying industry, agriculture, I said, we see it every day around us. You can't go and ask them कि अपने बच्चे को क्यों काम करवा रहे हो भाई? कि बच्चा ही वो, मैंने, the only source of earning for them is the field. धान लगाएंगे, धान काटेंगे, धान करेंगे, तभी खाएंगे. एक परिवार के सारे लोग लगे रहते हैं उसमें. उसीलिए वो 5 से 6 या 8 से 10 बच्चे पैदा करते हैं, ताकि वो उस जगह पे काम करके खिला सकें.
Ma'am, I have a question. Just like as you said कि बच्चे पैदा करते हैं for the working thing. Ma'am, population का or having not that child policy PCB, how do you think it's affecting the growth of child labor? But having like too many children in village area, more than like 2 or 3.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That Kanyaka, you are absolutely correct. This is one of the major reason. And why? See, they are all interrelated. They are changed. They are looped. Umang rightly said that there is a scope of policies that need to be changed. Everything is in place. We have rules. We have laws. बच्चे नहीं काम कर सकते. बच्चा
Ma'am,
दो
I have another like aspect of seeing this problem. Like one is like poverty and maybe the migration. Because rural areas में इतना agriculture का इतना वो रहा नहीं है. It's going down, and it's not. We are still dependent on rain and everything. Agriculture itna widely.
I disagree, Ruchi. In rural area, agriculture is still there. क्या urban में agriculture का, rural में ही agriculture का. और agriculture में जब 5 से 10 बच्चा पैदा करते हैं, तो agriculture में 4 बच्चे लगते हैं, ठीक है. बाकी तो बाहर जाके खाना खाएंगे, तो they go out. ठीक है, cheap workforce है ये लोग. आप देखिए, एक लेबर को MGNRGA में आपको 200 या 300 देना पड़ता है. एक बच्चे को आप हायर करेंगे तो 100 रुपए देते हैं. So this is their cheap labor as well. And this COVID crisis has never helped. It has brought additional poverty to these already vulnerable population. And towards years of progress in fighting this child labor. You understand?
The reason, like if I say migration, so what is the role of migration in it? Like, does it really hamper the situation?
No, see, why do migration happen? Migration happen because of poverty, because they want to feed their stomach. To send the, यहाँ पे 100 रुपए में एक अगर चाइल्ड बच्चा काम भी करता है, रोड का भी काम करता है, कोई भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर सिविल का काम करता है, तो उसको 100 रुपए मिलता है. अगर वो बाहर जाएगा तो 200 रुपया मिलेगा ना. तो फिर घर में वरना वो कहीं जाके किसी घर में नौकरी भी करेगा तो 3,000 रुपए. We have never seen 3,000 rupees.
Yes, so ma'am, it's basically a like overall problem of the system where a town may or maybe the things are not that working good, and they have to come out and they have to look for the employment, and फिर वो पूरा एक circle बन जाता है where they're going into poverty, and फिर आप एक स्ट्रिंग से कुछ नहीं कर सकते.
सिस्टम का ही प्रॉब्लम है. रुचि, आपने सही कहा, ये सिस्टम का ही प्रॉब्लम है. कहीं ना कहीं हर एक हम responsible citizen को we need to see where there is this hook is missing, and can we bring that hook together? Is it policy of childbirth, everything, and the CSR can play a very important role in this.
And ma'am, I want to ask one more question. Like when the government का पहले काम था policing. Now government policing state हुआ करता था. Now government has a responsibility that they have to provide social security to citizens. So don't you think the social security is mainly इस चीज में हम fail हो रहे हैं as a government? Because अगर social security रहेगा, employment रहेगा, malnutrition पे हम work करेंगे and everything like that, economy में work करेंगे, so ये उसका by product हो जाएगा and it will actually go up. It will, क्योंकि ये काफी अटैच्ड टॉपिक है इससे. So
जी
social
देखिए,
security,
हमारा जो इंडिया है, इंडिया एज अ कंट्री, इट्स अ ह्यूज कंट्री. Various kinds of, maybe entire Europe's different language, different people, different culture is what is in India. So आप अगर बोलेंगे गवर्नमेंट पे हम सारा रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं डाल सकते. मेरा तो हर वक्त यही एक मिशन रहता है कि व्हाट इज आवर इंडिविजुअल सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. Are we doing individual social level? We are people who see things and shut our mouth. Most of us, I'm not saying it. So we need to bring it out. We need to stop it. Whenever we see the child doing it, we need to stop it. We need to support. We give them money, but can we give them proper education? एक तो हम जो MHM पे हमें बहुत अच्छा से काम करना चाहिए. रिप्रोडक्टिव हेल्थ पे काम करना चाहिए. मैंने बहुत has to work on reproductive health, so that the childbirth is safe and only 2 children can be. We can restrict our childbirth to 2. Then comes their education, giving them a proper education. अभी वो आंगनवाड़ी जाते हैं, एक अंडा खाने के लिए 2 अंडा और एक छतुआ मिलता है, उसी ले जाते हैं, वरना पढ़ाई के लिए तो कोई नहीं जाता. उसके बाद स्कूल भी उसी लिए भेजते हैं कि मिड डे मील के लिए. सो एजुकेशन जहां नहीं है, मिड डे मील खा के आके फिर से जमीन में काम करते हैं, फिर से फील्ड में काम करते हैं. सो दीज आर हुक्स wherever every individual, every corporate, every individual, every civil society has to work in these. Everybody, those who are working in these pockets should work so that this particular chain is stronger. ठीक है. ये एक हम all of us can take this initiative. All of us as jointly can work on this, because every children deserve to learn, to grow in a safe and healthy environment, And I think we are committed to working with our suppliers and local companies. हमारे जो vendors भी हैं, as a large corporate, so vendors provide us with allied, the allied industry vendor provides us with small, जैसे stationery होगा, वहाँ पे भी it is our prime duty to tell to ensure that those vendors, to check on those vendors, to help that supply chain where child labor risks are minimal. Nobody under the age of 18 should be, any hazardous work should not. So आप एक बड़े corporate नाते आपका एक मौलिक दायित्व ये होता है कि आप अपने vendors को, अपने suppliers को इस चीज पे जागरूक करें. और गवर्नमेंट का जो पॉलिसी है, देखिए यहाँ से चले जाते हैं, बड़े अर्बन सिटीज में काम करते हैं, फिर रेड होता है, पकड़े जाते हैं, फिर दे गो टू these houses and then they find their parents and send them back, and I have seen same children 3-4 times back in Delhi. आएंगे क्या? Can we have a proper policy in place, a proper system in place? So if something of that sort happens, a government should provide a proper education to them and proper skill to them, so that they can be skillful and earn their bread and butter when they grow up. So this is what we need to look at in a larger level. And efforts to eliminate the worst form of child labor should not be used to justify other forms of child labor. I think companies can directly and indirectly contribute to the occurrence of forced and child labor with robust and responsible CSR policy. हमारे पास है, but we need to make the CSR policies more robust. Companies arguably have a responsibility to support the sustainable development of this country and then do the business. So this is what I take.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Next, we'll be taking question from Rajiv sir, and Karnika will be asking the question.
Hare Krishna, sir. As much I have studied, I have come to know that you have almost 30 years of experience in with working experience and knowledge of working with various government organizations, various private organizations. So, with this enormous experience you're having, can you please give me a holistic, view of this current problem, and present some policies and governance of the issue?
Well, when we talk about the experience has been in various fields with regards to government as well as private sector. My role, I would say, I have been trying to, do a lot of things with regards to helping in NGOs, being a part of NGO, being a volunteer. Like for example, I'll say I am connected to a few NGOs in which there is one called Desire Society. Now, Desire Society is basically, what it is consisting kids, students and kids. These are orphans kids. These are basically kids from the sex workers. They are HIV positive kids. Their age group is from 3 months onwards till the age group of 23. So what we do is, as an individual, as a group of like-minded people like us, we come together, we try to contribute towards their education, we try to help them in terms of giving them food, clothes. We try to celebrate our birthdays and our event celebrations jointly with them. So they are part of our event, they're part of our activities. We try to give them a free haircut once a month through professional salons. We have tried to do a lot of things in terms of trying to be part of their life. Because see, this is one such organization, I would say. Because when we say HIV positive kids, these kids, their life is not very long. They require medicine, they require medical assistance, they require a lot of checkup, they require smile, laughter, good food, quality food, good time, and plus help and support. So we try to approach a lot of people through various means, social media, through contacts, through personal connections. We try to bring it to the notice in our society where we live. As an individual, as an independent person, also we try to help them. Whenever we earn, we try to part with some part of our income which we have. When you talk about all these things, there are a lot of kids. If you see, when I was in the department, I was working with the department. I'm talking about 2008-9. After I used to be working, I used to join my office at around 10 o'clock, and then I used to be late in the evening till 9-9:30. So people used to ask me, sir, office time to 5 बजे खत्म हो जाता है, अभी आप क्या कर रहे हो, time pass कर रहे हो? So I used to say, नहीं भाई, if you just come in the evening, you'll see what time pass we do. What we used to do is that after 6 o'clock, we used to go outside our office because we were in Mantralaya area. So we had one teacher who used to come in the evening, and we used to collect these beggars, these children who used to beg on the streets. We used to lure them with biscuits, some kind of snacks, peppies, and all those things, and bring them, and we teach them so that they get educated. So those 3 hours of ours after the office would be totally dedicated to these children so that they get some kind of education, because right to education is important for them. And each one teach one. Like we independently can teach somebody. We can take hold of one child, two child also. Like there are so many kids. Like we have workers at our house. Okay, the lady who comes to work at our house, she has got a kid, so she'll tag that child along with her at our house. Okay, at that point of time, the child is just sitting doing nothing. And if we are at home, if possible, we should try to teach that child something. If you've got our kids books, if you've got some clothes which we can share, some kind of information, we give them some access to the computer which we have, so that she can sit with our child, see what is new things, explore. Because right now the crux is that no matter what we talk about, COVID has actually brought us 2 years gap between education, connections, and everything. We are saying, we talk about online studies, we talk about policies being made. Like rightly said, Umangji spoke about it at length, and Dr. Lopamudraji also spoke about it. See, policies are made, but then it is our individual efforts to be put in. Policies are made to be implemented, but then who is responsible to take care of it? It's not the government alone, it is also our independent effort which has to be brought in. There are lots and lots of rules made that a child should not, the child should not be working between the age group of 14 to 18. If they are caught working, then there is a severe punishment. If you look at Bombay, Bombay is a city which consists lots of film stars, rich people, industrialists and all. But if you look at their house, if you do an independent check, you will find that maximum young kids are working in their house. They are working as a domestic help. They are working as a child care person. They'll be taking care of their children. They are feeding their children. They are washing. They are doing a lot of things. So to say there are lots and lots of things happening. But what happens? are we trying to understand that what we are doing is wrong or right? It is upon us. We should understand that, you know, that child is also a child. When we do all these things, we are actually, you know, making the child handicapped. The child becomes handicapped. His mental growth stops. We are trying to mature a child much before the age. So that is where we should stop. We should try to, when we speak so much on the platform, we talk so many big things, we want certificates, we want, you know, we acknowledge, we go into the media and we talk so much big things about I did this, I did that. But when you come home, you realize that you are doing that same thing which you are trying to say something else, and you're a different person at home. So these all things are there. I hope.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you for this information. And as you said about that, how you take care of those HIV infected children. So, you see, I am a youngster. I am a teen girl. So, you know, being a child, what can I do in a rigid way? What are the steps I can take to, you know, contribute to this, you know, to make the situation better? So,
So for a small community like this, when we talk about, you know, HIV positive kids, there was a notion, you know, that people used to think if I touch a HIV child, I'll also get an HIV, I'll get HIV positive. There are parents who see, it's the child got infected. Why? It's through the parent. He did not contact it through any virus or anything. So as a youngster, when we have lots of youngsters coming to these NGOs, they spend their time, they come for 1 hour, 2 hours, they try to teach them, they talk to them, they play with them, you know, they teach them whatever small things which they can learn through their small hands. We try to tell them, educate what is good touch, bad touch. We try to tell them, you know, how to maintain distance when you meet a stranger. All those things these youngsters see, especially when you talk about girls, it's a very sensitive issue. See, similar things happens with boys also. But when we talk about girls, we have to be more extra careful because these girls are very small, they are very young. They do not know because they do not have anybody to help or support them. So they are in an orphanage. Why they are in an orphanage? Because if they would have not been brought over here, probably their mother, who is into, you know, this field of prostitution, she would put her into that same field, and probably the child would also be somewhere doing prostitution in an early stage. So all these things we are taking care that, you know, these things should not come or happen to the kid. And the moment we come to know the consent, that, you know, it is a danger for the child, then we see to it that the child is immediately through proper legal procedure brought to the NGO, and the orphanage takes care of it, the NGO takes care of it, and then people like us come in support to them. So as youngsters, I would say, you know, you are the young people, you are the young generation who's going to run the country after us. We'll be here for another 20 years, 15 years maybe. And COVID is something which has taken away good young people also from us. There are a lot of energetic people who are working, suddenly they disappeared from the map. So we want youngsters to come forward and help and be a part of this movement, you know, where child labor is one thing which should be removed immediately, no matter what. I would say it is like a curse. It is like a curse. We should remove it.
okay, sir. Thank you for this information. Now, next moving to Dr. Rana. Dr. Rana, sir. Hare Krishna. Hello. Am I audible, sir?
You're audible. Hello.
Hello,
Yes.
sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good
Sir,
evening.
so good evening, sir. So, sir, my question is, what are the factors and causes of this stark rising of child labor?
One moment, please. Let me just switch this off. Just a moment, please. Yes. The first one, when we talk about child labor, is the burgeoning population at an exponential rate, which is unbridled, and till date, the government has not yet been able to come up with a concrete law which can determine a controlled rate of growth of population. Though there was some efforts made in some of the preceding governments, but there were sharp reactions by the government, and the government got toppled, and hence the government did not afford to take such risk in terms of controlling the population. So the first is lack of the controlling dimension of a regulatory law, or a regulatory authority which is in a position to plan the economic growth, this growth of population, and this is how we'll have the planned economic growth, so that both are concomitant to each other. So that is the first one, lack of law which can govern the rate of growth of population, which is ultimately impacting the forced labor, because we do not have well-planned activity to ensure that every child which takes birth is going to have the optimal level of nutrition as well as optimal level of education. If we look at the law in Mauritius, wherein the Mauritius law says that every child which takes birth in Mauritius will have education which is compulsory till class 12, and not just that, if for 5 days at a stretch, if the child does not come to the school reports the matter, and the police officer and the patrolling gypsy reaches the residence, what's wrong with the child and what's wrong with the parents. So that's one dimension. Second dimension, we have some rules and laws which are there to restrict the child labor, but those laws are not getting enforced due to suboptimal enforcement mechanism. And sometimes we feel that if we stop the child from child labor, he's going to die hungry because he may not have sufficient sources of finance, and his mother and father, the parents, do not have optimal level of financing. So that's something, it becomes a, very on the horns of dilemma, where we cannot, if we stop him from doing child labor, we are in a way indirectly killing the whole family. So that's next dimension. Third is, the ma'am was talking about CSR activity. Well, when CSR laws came, I'm talking about 6-7 years back, during 2013-14, the envisioned corpus was of, in those times, was close to around 20,000 crores. But if we look at a population of 138 crores, making sure that all the child of the weaker and the downtrodden class getting food, shelter, and quality education requires big quantum of money. And India has a parallel regulatory mechanism wherein the state government and the central government both are making laws, and sometimes they are at contradictions with each other. So this is also a situation wherein the state government are not in tandem with the central government, and at times they are not able to enforce the central government plans to the extent which they can. Now, next I'm coming to the point, if we look at some international benchmarks, now in every country, there are certain exemptions which are drawn, that there are certain age groups which will be exempted, certain age groups will be allowed. Now, when we talk about the Indian context, now, ma'am was talking about that they are working in the civil construction areas, they are working in kiln, they are working in cleaning, they are working as house help. Now, the challenge is, we are in a situation, we are in a catch-22 situation. If we stop all of them, it is a challenge to most of the families which are in the downtrodden sector. So now there has to be a balanced mechanism from the government. So you only asked me to talk about the root causes. So root causes is about economic imbalance between the rich and the poor, which is going on increasing at an increasing rate. So the government is not able to compensate or to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. That's one. Second, lack of plans and policies and enforcement mechanism to make sure that all the laws which we make are getting enforced. That is second. Third one is lack of financial support from the central government and the state government to make sure that every child which takes birth in the country is able to support his food, hunger, and education. Last but not the least, even when we talk about CSR, the overall number of companies working in the country with an envisioned corpus of 20,000 to 40,000 crores are also suboptimal to ensure that we are able to give the food, shelter, and clothes to all the children. So one is the resource crunch. Second is the laws which are not of the desired intensity, and that too, the laws which are there are not being enforced. More so, there's lack of sensitivity of the urban class. Well, if we see that if every person in the urban society becomes sensitive and we start adopting that, okay, I will feed one child, I'll make sure I'll provide food, shelter, and education to one child, I'm sure the gross level of intensity of this child labor would come to almost nil in very minimal time. But then the sensitivity amongst the urban class is close to nil. But when it has a cascading impact, when they turn into crime, they start joining theft, dacoity, it has an impact on the urban lifestyle. And so it reaches, so even when the fire reaches the pillow, they are still not able to wake up that yes, we should work together to make sure we overcome the menace. So it's lack of financial resources, lack of commitment at the central level, at the state level, at the society level, and down at the individual level. People who are affluent, they are not in a position to take or to have the same level of commitment. Let us join hands with the government, NGOs, society, or other similar organization that we shall fight the menace so that it does not have a disastrous impact. So the willpower to eliminate, that is missing. Second, the rules and regulations are suboptimal and their enforcement is further suboptimal. Financial allocations is suboptimal. So we need to work with a holistic framework to make sure all these gaps are taken care of. I think in the minimal time, I think this is all that I would like to put forward.
Thanks a lot, sir. It was very, very good information. It was very informative. Now, next, Tarun sir would like to ask you something. Tarun sir.
Rana sir, I just want to ask you one thing that, see, as you know that we are already working for so many underprivileged children in Braj, you know. So I am a bit worried about the situation, what we are into, we are facing here. So I just want to know that actually what kind of post-COVID impact we are going to have after this this COVID gets off. So if you can put some light on that, I will be very, very thankful to you on that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. It's something which is very pertinent in the light and in the context of the current situation. Well, post-COVID scenario, I'm sure we have witnessed some children getting reduced to a single parent. One of their parents have died. Some have lost both of their parents. So in one of the tweets, I made a request to our Honorable Prime Minister to make sure that let us work together towards caring for the children who are becoming orphan as a culmination of the global menace of COVID-19 in our country. And I was glad to see one of the court judgments which has now made it mandatory for the district magistrates to be responsible and to take care of all the children who have become orphan. This is one. Second, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, RSS, which is one of the leading social service organization, which is a sister of Bharatiya Janata Party, which is currently ruling at the center and the state. They have taken a decision that they would be imparting free education to all the children who are orphans and who have lost their parents in the pandemic, in the current pandemic. So this is two. So first one was my request to the government and government working towards it and making the district magistrates responsible for all the orphans during the COVID scenario. This was first. Second, RSS has taken a responsibility on its own to make sure that it will educate all the children which is able, and they have been running a campaign on Facebook as well as on WhatsApp to find out which are the children which have become orphan, and they're collecting the names on their Google Forms so that all of them can be provided the education as a matter of their right so that they become a worthy citizen of the country. This is second. Some of the leading corporates, they have taken decision that as a part of their CSR activity in their educational initiative, they would be imparting free education to some of the children in terms of overall education, primary, secondary, and tertiary. There's been a great initiative by Amity University very recently, wherein their chancellor, Mr. Atul Chauhan, he announced publicly that he would not charge any fees from their students who were studying at Amity University, and if in case if they lost their parents, they would not charge any further fees from them, and they'll be provided complete academic delivery free of cost. And lot many other universities have started following suit, especially for the children who are studying there, so that they should not lose on their academic furtherance. So this is three. Now there are other social service organizations which have started joining hands together to seek donations and to make sure that the children are able to achieve the educational level, so that they become part and parcel of this economy and they become worthy citizens. They finish their studies and they are able to become a worthy citizen by either starting their own business or by joining an organization wherein they can contribute to some phenomenal extent and earn some salary. So it has been a holistic thought process right now, and I'm sure Niti Aayog is also considering to come out with some concrete action plan wherein all such citizens, especially I don't call them kids because they're also citizens of this economy, would be able to contribute to the economy after achieving their primary, secondary, and tertiary learning initiatives. So I feel that COVID scenario, it has come as a challenge, but the government machinery, the NGOs, the schools and universities, and entities like RSS, and there are other social entities like Jain initiatives and so on and so forth. So everyone is coming together to make sure that children who have lost their parents should not lose their education and should not lose their right to study and to become a worthy citizen of the country. So I'm thankful to all those who are thinking for their children, for such children, and to Tarunji, you also, and for your organization, which has been working very sincerely. So it's we as citizens who start thinking, because thought gets translated into action, and action leads us to the destiny. So thought, action, and destiny, they are three words. So the moment we start thinking, let us do something for these children, automatically it drives some action, some initiatives, which culminates into destiny of transforming their lives and towards making them worthy citizen of the country.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Now I'll be taking the next question from like very senior Olympian Parag Patil sir. My regards to you, Parag Patil sir. Am I audible?
Thank you. Yeah, ma'am.
Sir, my question is, when we talk about sports, so sports हम दो तरीके से इसको देख सकते हैं. पहला कि it's a very good medium for psychological and physical development of children, इस तरीके से, and दूसरा कि ये हमारे कंट्री के लिए भी ऑनर लेकर आता है, and it has a, इसमें भी एक करियर है. We can see lot of growth and career in this line. But when today we're talking about children who are not that lucky enough to have privileges and everything, but as a country, as a community, if we want to promote our children like these to sports, what are the medium, and do we have the infrastructure like this to support these children, and how can they turn their dreams true?
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much for inviting me on this platform. Thank you, Tarunji. First thing is that what is the requirement of sports? One is your mental health as well as your physical health. So as we are talking about the child laborers, first thing is that what they are, why they are called as a child labor, because they are fighting with the hunger. First is that. The second is that they are, they had been forced to be a child labor, or they have forced to work. So first thing is that their mindset, what this first mindset is required in the sports is perform in unfavorable conditions. Now we as a humble family, or with the some facilities and all these things we have, what we are grown up with, if the conditions are favorable, then only we can perform. If just for example, if I'm not having a shoes, I will not perform. The track is not good in terms of athletics. Track is not good. Yeah, weather is not good. The weather was rainy. So the first mindset is to perform in the unfavorable conditions. That mindset that child has already developed, because They don't have that much of proper clothing. They don't have the fancy wares or shoes or something like that. They have to work hard in each and every atmospheric condition.
Right.
So mindset is already there. Now, as we were talking about the rural areas and all these things, the physical condition is whatever is the physical condition requires for sports, that is muscle flexibility and strength, they are building automatically. We just have to polish them and take them on a ground. Now, at looking at the career in sports, now if we take the Olympics, there are the 33 games involved organized in the Olympics. So in particularly athletics, we are associated with 25 events. So 25 events for boys and 25 events for the girls. So there is a huge potential to get into the sports. Now, how we can get into a career? The state government, central government, as well as some municipal corporations and all these things, they have a reserve quota for the sports person. Even in defense forces, police forces, then railways are there. Each and every government sector, including airlines also, including banks also, they have certain quotas for the sports person. But the criteria is they have to perform at the national level and win some medals, and they have to be at some good level. So this is the first one. Now when the already the career opportunity is there, the second question comes, मेहनत कौन करेगा? क्योंकि ये it is not कि for example lots of students are preparing for their police forces or army force to join the army forces and all this. Within a week, if you study, you can clear the written exams. But can it happen that within a week, just prepare and clear your physical examinations? It will not.
No. Yes.
So it requires a lot of practice and a lot of hard work. It is not an overnight job. So secondly, we need to coach them. We need to have some proper infrastructure. Already the infrastructure is there, but as the respectable persons already said, implementation is much more important. We are lacking for implementations. Already the infrastructure is there. There are a lot of career opportunities in government as well as in private sectors. They can be a coach. The schools can hire them in completing some educations and all this. But how to train them is a big question.
So I want to ask one more question. So do we have that kind of infrastructure where the child need not to pay a handsome amount of money and where he can be trained? Do we have something like that, maybe NGO or organization or maybe a government initiative? Do we have a system like this?
Yeah, we have a system like this because athletics is a गरीबों का game. ये हम लोग बचपन से सुन के आ रहे हैं क्योंकि इसको ज़्यादा कुछ equipments लगते हैं. If you have a shoes and some shorts and t-shirts and all these things, it is that much of enough. Now talking with the this one infrastructures and coachings and all these things which require huge money. Now athletics training is a basic for each and every sports. It's a mother of sports. So it doesn't require a lot of money to get trained also. So as already we have announced, the MaxFit India is one of the company which is already want to do the work for these children because they have literally a potential to play for the country and to win because they have that the winning mindset. So MaxFit India is one of the forum, and there are some of the municipal corporations. They are adopting such a talented sports person. They are giving them a free training, free equipment, as well as some payments for the diets also. So some 4,000, 5,000, something like that is there. So they are giving that also. So there are some municipal corporations, but first thing we have to invest and we have to show at least a state level performance. So for that
Okay.
preparation, definitely we are there to help. And genuinely, these kids have a lot of a talent hidden in themselves for the sports. So just
Yes.
with the talent hunt or with the some programs, we can definitely can find them and we can train them.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Next question, Karnika is taking to Miss Kajal. Please proceed.
Hello. Hello, am I audible, ma'am? Hello.
Yeah, you're audible. Hare Krishna to all.
Hare Krishna, ma'am. So, ma'am, my question is, ma'am, as you are the former principal of RIMS International School, as you are the executive director of Gayatri Group of Schools, so with this enormous experience of being around children, what do you think is the role of teachers, schools, students, and the community, in eradicating child labor? And how can we sensitize, these people towards, eradicating it? So, please.
Thank you, Miss Karnika, for asking this question. And when Sanjeev sir spoke about this topic and what work Soul of Braj is doing, which is very, very commendable, and this particular topic is very, very close to my heart. Tarunji, you're doing a fabulous job, and more power to you. Today, through this platform, I will be sharing some untold stories, and I have not shared because I always feel that it might turn into a controversy. And I am adding a disclaimer. It is my personal experience, and I have seen it with my own eyes. I've felt it. I started my career in teaching deprived sector, spending my afternoon teaching these children about whom we are talking. Yes, you heard me right. I used to go in a very a sensitive area, and at times I used to be very, very scared. It was run, yes, it was run by a NGO where they used to get uniform, they used to get books, everything they used to get. And with our own hands, like I was one of the educator there, earning 1600 rupees. And we used to give them those books, uniform, everything. And in just 2 days, everything used to get vanished. So where these uniforms and books used to go, I, being an educator, just a single small dot over there, I used to cry, yell, go to secure, like, higher authority, to my NGO people. What are we doing as school? Let's find out where this money is going, where these uniforms and books are going. What are we doing? And under my capacity, I tried my level best. I was there in that school for a year, and I've seen extreme what these students used to do. Of course, being an educator, influencer, motivator, being a very loving teacher, I played a small role there by eradicating to some extent. Of course, such things you cannot erase in just 1 year, but I'm just sharing my personal experience. That is the reason, that's how that spark was ignited, that yes, through education lots can be done. And through this platform, I'm just sharing one example, and I have done with my students. We have cried, we have shared everything with this sector. We used to have annual program known as Asli Kamai. Our students used to make handmade articles, and we used to involve children from different NGOs. And again, I was the part of that NGO where we have seen, in terms of education, what inside was happening, how they were treated since morning till evening. They used to be involved in work, and food was given only if that certain task is completed. So I've seen that, and that's how I can sensitize. And yes, good news over here is NEP 2020 is out. And yes, uh, recent press release was also there that how government will work to improve the gross enrollment ratio. It will become 50% by 2035. The annual like GDP which is there for education, it will be by from 1.7%, they are planning to raise it to 6%. Again, it will take some time, because bringing all the students, it's not a joke, it's not easy. And we as educators, what Tarun sir is doing, creating awareness, talking about it, deliberating discussions. Yes, under one's capacity, what we can do as an individual, what we can do as a teacher, community, school, to create awareness, have campaigns, catch them young. We have so many children. As one of the panelists, if I'm not wrong, somebody said this, each one teach one, and many campaigns were shared over here.
Yeah, Rajiv.
So yes, let's pass it on. And even discouraging uh, to have child labor from one's perspective, like if I have some labor in my house, not to allow child to work, because that also happens. It starts from household work, it starts from car washing, it starts from traffic signals. You might have seen those young little children, how they are treated, and they know it all. They've been trained for that. So we need to go to that root cause, and together we can always strive hard to bring a change. And change will start from myself, and then it will transform to everyone.
Yes, ma'am. Well said.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. This is what we think, that this is wrong, that adult take advantage of vulnerability of children at such a tender age. They become breadwinner of their family, and exactly this needs to be eradicated. And of course, it will take time, but we hope to end it soon. So my next question is,
Before we go to second question, I just want to add one more example. This reminds me, because our Parag sir is there, and I'm quite passionate about sports. I'm a yoga instructor as well. And in 2019, I had annual sports day of my school in a very unusual manner. You might have never heard it. I involved 40 blind students. Yes, you heard me right, 40 blind students, where we trained them to do lazim, and they performed on our annual day with perfect, on the beats of Maharashtra beats, if you know it, Dhol Tasha. I'm from Pune. So we trained them for 15 days. They were absolute, it was delight to watch them perform. And you know how the program was culminated? 40 students, 40 regular students, and 40 blind students. Each child having, blind child, that way, specially able. Let's call them specially abled. Their leg, one leg was tied, and they had to complete the relay race.
wow.
So this way, empathy and compassion was developed. They thought for them, and so that was,
You can start
I have
walking
a video
towards me if you
also
want to see me
of
take
that
a
show. I will love to show in some of the programs. Okay, I think it's okay. So over to Karnika, ma'am.
Karnika,
Thanks.
the question. Ma'am, how can we see, like we have right to education, as Umang ma'am said. So how can we link this to as the child development who are like underprivileged children? Of course, it's for the underprivileged children, But of course, children who are working as a labor, how as the community or maybe NGO workers, how can we engage them? How can we be that medium? See, if I see a person like a child working somewhere, and can I approach a school under RTE, and how can I help that child with this power in my hand? So this is my
See, of
question to you.
course, thank you so much. That's Miss Ruchi, right? Thank you so much, Miss Ruchi, asking this question. Never ever underestimate a power of a common man or a common teacher. Even each one can, they can do wonders. They can do wonders. आपको मैं यहाँ पर सोल ऑफ ब्रज, कृष्णा जी इज इन द सेंटर. आपको पता होगा उंगली पे पर्वत उठाया था, तो वो जब एक उंगली पर्वत उठा सकती है तो ये तो भगवान की क्रिएशन है. हम क्या नहीं कर सकते? What not we can do? Yes, good work always will pass, and under one's, as I'm repeating, under one's capacity, we can create a lot of impact by bringing this deprived sector, guiding them to under the act of RT, right to education. Yes, it is absolutely free, but sad part, again, it is misused. Being at the leadership role, I have seen how it is misused. So stop that. Do not allow to, because see, once we misuse that RTE, that act of free education, and if we give to the child whose parents can do it, that means we have killed one child's education. That child is already deprived, and if child deserves that free education, and for some reason child is not able, because in this RTE, I am telling you, there is immense paperwork which are this sector is not able to do. It's crazy. And I want to quote, yes, it is Tariq pe Tariq. Yes, it is date. Every time they get a different date. Kal आना, परसों आना, आपका ये डॉक्यूमेंट कंप्लीट नहीं है, आपका इनकम स्टेटस चेक बराबर नहीं है. Why I can speak all this? Because I have seen it, and I have seen the pain of parents, genuine parents. When they need it, they don't get it, and those who don't, those who don't deserve it, they get it. So let's stop that chain. Let's stop. So I think when we'll be utilizing this awareness in the right direction, we'll be victorious.
Thank you, Kajal ma'am. Such a good knowledge we got. Next question we are asking from Sanjeev sir, and Tarun sir is taking the question. Thank you.
Sanjeev sir, very good evening to you. आपके लिए एक क्वेश्चन मेरे लिए बहुत ही जरूरी है. It's regarding the AI, artificial intelligence. हम लोगों का जो डेटा मैनेजमेंट जो है पूरा, अगर हम लोग स्टेट वाइज देखें या डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे देखें या किसी भी लेवल पे देखें, तो हमारा जो डेटा मैनेजमेंट है, इट्स अ वेरी वेरी नॉट इन गुड शेप. हम लोगों को पता भी नहीं है कि एक्चुअली कितने बच्चे हमारे जो हैं वो आपके अंडर प्रिविलेज सेक्शन में आ रहे हैं, या कितने बच्चे हैं जो ऑलरेडी आपका चाइल्ड लेबर के किसी न किसी काम में ऑलरेडी लगे हुए हैं. तो आई विल बी वेरी वेरी थैंकफुल टू यू अगर आप मुझे, अगर ये किस तरीके से अगर हम लोग ये जो टेक्निकल है हमारा, ये जो आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस को हम लोग किस तरीके से अगर हम लोग यूज कर पाएं इन फ्यूचर में, ताकि हम लोग एटलीस्ट जो डेटा है हमारे पास, जो डेटा आना चाहिए, वो एक्चुअल डेटा हम लोग लेके आ पाएं और ताकि उसके ऊपर हम लोग वर्क कर पाएं. इफ यू कैन आंसर ऑन दैट, आई विल बी वेरी वेरी थैंकफुल टू यू. थैंक यू.
Tarunji, first of all, Hare Krishna to everyone. And I think I feel so proud that I am attached with, if Tarunji, correct me, right from the day one with the Soul of Braj Foundation.
Yeah.
And involved in various activities, doing few things. And I think I am so blessed that, the kind of positive energy which I drove from after talking to Tarunji and after talking to a few others is tremendous. And I must say that the task which has been led by Tarunji for in the soul of Braj, in the heart of Krishna, is tremendous, and I think he's doing a commendable job. I think he's cutting all the barriers and trying to achieve various milestones in very quick period of time. Hats off to him. So I think जब लास्ट में आप बोलते हो तो आई थिंक आपकी जर्नी जो है, आपकी जो टॉक है वो बहुत सिंपल हो जाती है, बिकॉज जितने भी लर्न एंड टैलेंट होता है they all speak and you have a very little to talk about. But I think there are two important data which I need to the panel to have the look at it. According to the International Labour Organization, if we look at the child labor in the world, I think that is touching close to about 170 million. And out of which half of them, which is close to 85 million, are really working in a dangerous or hazard environment. And if we call this as an industry, so the human trafficking is basically, mind-boggling number. It is 150 billion industry and 40 million victims. As all the panel has said, they might be washing our clothes, they might be washing our the hotel rooms or the house or building a sport arena or houses or whatsoever. So I think looking at technologies, because I being the technology man in the country, I think Karnika, the word which you were not able to pronounce is I am a technocrat, an avid technocrat in the country, and who was involved in launching many technologies in India. If we look at artificial intelligence, basically artificial intelligence is nothing but collection of technologies that excel at the extracting insights and pattern from large set of data, then making the predictions based on that information. So I think it is very important that all the data which is lying at the district level or at the state level, we collate using such a technological method, which is, I can say that it has a very inception stage. This not only include your analytical data from places like Google Analytics, automation of the platforms or content management system like CRMs and more, but also AI helps create the machine learning tools to share and gather the information across the districts and state, and then will help various departments involved in this matter, who are also the victim of human trafficking, detect criminal networks because it is very important that we have to work at the root cause, and root cause can be worked only when the technology has to help us going deeply inside. So I think AI is such a platform which is evolving. Artificial intelligence is evolving, and I think there is no time to come when we all are sitting in our drawing room and AI is doing everything for us. So AI also help us use of the data to understand the human behavior and the pattern recognition and the compilation of the complex data into simple tasks, because इतने सारे डेटाज हैं, इतनी सारी मशीनें हैं, इतना सारा raw data फाइलों के अंदर सड़ रहा है, which I think we need to compile it and break them into simple tasks and then generate the readable feedbacks. I think that is what the AI will come into play. I think that Arunji is the first step with the technology can help in terms of interfacing with various departments, collecting the data and making the use of the modern technology, which is artificial intelligence. Thank you very much.
Sorry, sir, I could not take the name, but we definitely know what kind of boon, what kind of asset this technology is. So thanks for the information. My next question is to Vikas sir. Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, sir.
Hare Krishna.
So, sir, I wanted to ask that what are the strategies by which we can minimize the magnitude of this issue?
Thank you. First and foremost, I would like to extend my gratitude to Soul of Braj, especially Mr. Tarun and the team for having this very well curated event on the special day of World Child Labor Day. And also, I would like to extend my best wishes to Tarunji for doing a commendable job under Solar Bridge. And it's been quite long, as Sanjeev ji also shared, like I am also privileged one to be amongst those who are in touch with Tarunji since the, rather I would say not since the day of inception of Solar Bridge, rather much before that. And Solar Bridge is maybe one of the feather in the cap of Tarunji. But before that also, I've been watching him doing all the commendable and social work in a personal capacity as well, whenever gets a chance. So I much really appreciate that. And my best wishes to you for your future endeavors. And as you said, coming back to today's subject, first having the strategies, being I would say the strategy person, the strategy practitioner, while working with the various, having a journey of 2 decades now, working with various government department and also with the social organization in my career. So I always believe first we have to, identify that what is the problem. So what is the, the magnitude of the problem. So we must understand by the figures, and recently that the report has come up that, as Sanjeev ji also shared that, according to ILO, around 170 million children are those who are actually forced into the child labor. And if we get a data like, in the recent 4 years, somewhere around 8.4 million children has added into this list. And after the COVID, like in the last year that we have experienced, and this year also that we have experienced the bad way, especially in India. And there is that, that will actually create a situation that somewhere around 9 million children will add up to this list. And there is a simulation model which predicts that if the right measures haven't been taken and the right strategy haven't been in place, then this number will rise up to 46 million children. So that is certainly an eye-opener, and we should have the policies for sure that government is having all the policies, be it a state level or the central level. We are coming up with a unique idea, unique policies like Dr. Rana was mentioning, some of the private organization, government organization, they are coming up with some universities coming up, few sort of social oriented plans and strategies. So this is need of an hour. And as we know that, given the data we have in hand that, out of 10 children in the world, one child is actually into the child labor. And when that comes to India, in Asia, we are contributing the 1/3 of the child labor. And in the world, we are contributing by 1/4 of, population. So that's how, and we know that India being a, that amongst the young country, we have more than 65% of population below 35 years. So that we have, the young population, and we have the maximum number of child in the world. So we must have a policy that will also keep in mind that, we have to think out of box, new strategies, new ideas. Government is also coming up with all such ideas. Like, well, recently government has come up with a pencil, portal, wherein you can actually share the details about the children around you who, because of COVID and otherwise also, in such state of a position that they are not able to study, they are not able to actually earn the bread for their daily wages. And there are other sort of a problem that, that can be shared on those portals, and government will answer that, government will provide a solution to that. Recently, a child helpline has also been announced, that is 1098. If somebody noticed any child in, in such a state, in such a situation, then obviously one can call up and contribute in a bit, that at least the government should inform, and the right sort of a support by the government agencies will be provided to them. Recently, that there are different levels government is working, and we must appreciate and we must aware people and sensitize about that recently that, the National National Commission of Protection for Child Rights. So they have come up with on a pilot basis list of 50 religious places, wherein they'll be visiting, the team will be visiting with the coordination of local police and local agencies, that they'll be noticing whether there'll be, children who are involved in the begging, or they are involved, they are on the street, be it a child labor is involved, so that, government will actually work towards eradicating those issues, taking them out in the rehabilitation centers or in the government shelters, and providing them the support, be it a food, be it educating them, so that we should, one, not have our children on the roads begging for the small thing like food, and obviously they are living on the roads without shelter. That was one, protect the future of our children, of our country, and obviously it doesn't give a positive image to our country, because spaces, likewise, they have included in the list the Ram Mandir situated in Ayodhya, and Taj Mahal, such sort of a places wherein we'll be having visitors not only in India but from every part of the country, of the world. Sorry. So if we have people from the other country, we have people from our country too. So it doesn't give a positive image to our country. So it will solve, I would say, two purposes. One, giving them the right opportunity, and secondly, obviously, that will making the image of our country positive. So these sort of a strategy which we must have in place, like there are few things I want to specifically focus, because strategies are very important whenever going for any sort of a solution. We must have the right strategy. For example, let's suppose we have to go from A point to B point. What strategy is? You have four ways. Like we can go by climbing the mountain. Second, we can go by walking. We can take a train. We can take a plane. But yes, we must ensure what resources we have in hand. If I know that by plane I can actually travel in a very fast way, but do I afford to get the ticket, to get the fares of that air travel? If I want to go by road, do I have the right do I have the vehicle, maybe it's a car or a bicycle or a bike for that? So basically, whatever strategy we must wait, we must ensure that what resources are in hand. So by that having said that, I mean that whatever policies we are making, we have to keep in mind what resources our country, our people will have, and what is the magnitude of the problem. As I said, that India being a young country, we have a huge population when that comes to between the child labor between the age of 5 to 14 years of age. So we have a very huge population, and whatever resources we have, that we have to make the strategy keeping in mind that it should actually match up with the requirements. So we must, everybody should contribute in this manner, that, that it should be a people's initiative. We can't say that government will have the policies, government will eliminate all the problem. And I think it's something like it should be a people's initiative, that in our own way, as Ms. Kajal said, that in a very small way as well, it should start from us, it should start from me, then it will transform to other and many people like this. So maybe like, after some time, after a few days, after a few years, we'll have a substantial impact on the ground for our society, for the children of our country. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for the information, sir. And one thing that should be noted is that the child helpline number you told, 1098, the awareness is something which lacks the most, and even I as an educated team didn't know this. So thanks for this information, and thanks a lot.
Pleasure always. Thank you.
Over to you, Tarun sir.
Now it's going to be like a ending remark, and I'm very, very thankful to all, and I'm feeling very, very blessed today to listen to all the respected members. And आप लोगों से एक बहुत ही एक रिक्वेस्ट रहेगी कि whenever you get chance to come to Vrindavan, I will be very, very thankful to you, and because somehow I want to serve you, and thank you once again, and thank you so much. And very soon we are going to plan one more webinar where we are going to call all the respected guests from UAE, and I will be in touch with all of you, and let's see, because आने वाले 1 से 2 सालों के अंदर we are planning to come up with one school project it's going to be exclusively for underprivileged children. और ये जो पूरा जो स्कूल का पूरा प्रोजेक्ट हम लोग बनाने जा रहे हैं, इसमें विकास भाई, राजीव भाई, ये सब लोग हमारे साथ में इस प्रोजेक्ट का रोड मैप बनाएंगे हम लोग. एंड लोबा मैम, प्लीज, आई विल बी वेरी वेरी थैंकफुल टू यू. समहाउ कैसे भी करके हम लोग, क्योंकि ये जो पूरा का पूरा हम लोग ये ब्रजकुलम का जो पूरा इस समय हम जो ड्रीम देख रहे हैं, ये सिर्फ उन बच्चों के लिए हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि जो बच्चे जिनके पास प्रॉपर, जैसे अभी विकास भाई ने कहा, रिसोर्सेज की कमी, who don't have the resources with them. हम लोग ऐसे बच्चों के लिए हम लोग एक एजुकेशन पूरा सिस्टम बनाएंगे जिनमें उन बच्चों को जो भी एजुकेशन है उसके लिए कहीं भी उनको दिक्कत नहीं होनी चाहिए. यहाँ तक कि जो बेसिक हेल्थ केयर है, जो बच्चे का एक तरह से राइट है उसको मिलना, कोशिश करेंगे कि हम लोग एजुकेशन, हेल्थ एंड हाइजीन, इसके ऊपर बहुत अच्छी तरीके से काम कर पाए अपनी सोसाइटी के लिए. और ब्रज के अंदर, बिकॉज दिस लाइफ इज, ये जो लाइफ हम लोगों को मिला है, आई थिंक दैट हमें कुछ ऐसा इफेक्टिव काम करना चाहिए कि जाने के बाद भी कम से कम लोगों को ये रहना चाहिए कि समवन वाज देयर, जिन्होंने कुछ अच्छे माइलस्टोन सेट किए हों. तो आप लोगों को थैंक्स वंस अगेन, एंड आई एम वेरी थैंक्स एंड थैंक यू सो मच.
I would like to, before we conclude, I would like to just share a few things. First and foremost, thank you everybody for connecting over here, and it was a pleasure to be with you all. I just want to share that I've spoken to Tarunji also about it, that as of now, recently I've just done a strategic partnership with a company where we are providing zero interest free loan to students. So students can avail those discounts, zero interest free loans for 10 installments, 12 installments. And there is a scheme where, if the parents lose their job, so we waive off 3 installments for them. At the same time, if something happens to the child, parent, during this course of time, the parent passes away or expires, then we see to it that the child, if he's in 4th grade, 5th grade, will take care of the education till the time the child completes 12th grade. So this is one initiative which we have taken, and I'm using this platform to convey the message to you all. So thank you, Tarunji. Thank you, Tarunji, for
thank you so much. Thank you. Lot of love and blessings from Vrindavan. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna to all.
Hare Krishna to all. Hare Krishna to all.